The medication tray slipped from Amara Cole's hands the exact moment the ground outside the hospital began to tremble. Metal instruments clattered across the polished floor, making several patients jump. Before she could kneel to pick them up, a deep rumble echoed through the emergency department. Every conversation stopped. Every monitor suddenly seemed louder. Nurse Sophie Grant looked toward the entrance. "What on earth is that?" Amara slowly lifted her head. Through the wide glass windows, one black luxury SUV rolled into the emergency driveway. Then, another. And another. Within seconds, 10 identical black Escalades formed a perfectly straight line, completely blocking the ambulance entrance. Their engines shut off at the same time. Silence followed. One of the hospital security guards nervously reached for his radio. "Control, we've got some kind of convoy outside." The doors opened together. 20 men stepped out. Every one of them wore tailored black suits, white shirts, black ties, polished shoes, and emotionless expressions. They moved with military precision, forming two perfect lines from the lead SUV to the hospital entrance. Patients slowly stood. Doctors abandoned conversations. Even the receptionist forgot to answer the ringing telephone. Everyone simply stared. Upstairs, Dr. Richard Collins stormed into the emergency station carrying a clipboard. "Amara." His sharp voice cut through the silence. She turned. "I asked you 10 minutes ago why room 312's medication chart wasn't updated." "It was updated, doctor." "No." She calmly picked up a tablet. "It was entered at exactly 9:17 this morning." She showed him the timestamp. Several nurses exchanged knowing glances. Dr. Collins hated being proven wrong. Especially by Amara. He folded his arms. "You should still double-check your work." "I always do. You nurses become careless when you think you're indispensable." Amara remained calm despite the embarrassment. "I'll review every chart again." Dr. Collins leaned closer. "Maybe then you'll start acting like you're here to learn instead of teach." Before Amara could answer, another security guard rushed inside. His face had turned pale. "Doctor." Collins frowned. "What now? You need to see this." Everyone instinctively looked toward the entrance. The rear passenger door of the first SUV slowly opened. A tall man stepped out. He wore an impeccably tailored charcoal gray suit that fit him perfectly. A silver watch glimmered beneath his cuff. His black hair was neatly styled. His sharp jawline and calm expression gave away nothing. Yet the moment his polished shoes touched the ground, the atmosphere changed. Nobody knew his name. Nobody knew why he was there. But everyone immediately understood one thing. He was a man accustomed to absolute power. Without looking left or right, he walked between the rows of bodyguards. The automatic hospital doors opened. He entered. No one dared greet him. No one dared stop him. He simply continued walking. Straight toward Amara. Dr. Collins stepped forward. "Excuse me, sir. Visitors aren't." One bodyguard silently appeared beside him. He didn't touch the doctor. He didn't threaten him. He simply stood there. Dr. Collins immediately stopped talking. His confidence vanished. The stranger continued walking until he stood only a few feet from Amara. Their eyes met. For several long seconds neither spoke. Then his cold expression softened ever so slightly. "Amara." The single word echoed across the emergency department. Several nurses gasped. Sophie looked from Amara to the mysterious man. "You know him." Amara swallowed. "Tae-Hyun." The name escaped her lips quietly. Dr. Collins blinked. "You know this man?" Neither of them answered him. Tae-Hyun stepped closer. His voice remained calm. "I've been looking for you." Amara kept her professional composure. "What are you doing here?" "I need your help." Every employee listened. Nobody pretended to work anymore. Amara lowered her voice. This isn't the place. It has become the only place. She noticed something unusual. Tiny drops of blood stained the cuff of his expensive suit. Fresh blood. Her expression immediately changed. You're hurt. No. He looked toward the entrance. My head of security is. As if on cue, for bodyguards wheeled a stretcher through the doors. The unconscious man lying on it had a blood-soaked shirt. A nurse screamed. Doctors immediately rushed forward. Amara reached the stretcher first. The patient's pulse was weak. Blood continued soaking through the temporary bandage pressed against his abdomen. Gunshot wound. Her voice instantly became calm and authoritative. When did this happen? 23 minutes ago. How much blood has he lost? A lot. She looked up. He needs surgery immediately. Tae-Hyun nodded once. I know. Take him to operating room 4. No. Amara stared at him. What do you mean no? No hospital records. She frowned. He could die. I trust only one medical professional. His eyes never left hers. You. The emergency department became completely silent again. Dr. Collins laughed nervously. This is ridiculous. He stepped closer. Miss Cole is one of my nurses. She isn't performing surgery on anyone. Tae-Hyun slowly turned toward him. For the first time their eyes met. The billionaire's expression remained perfectly calm. What is your name? Dr. Collins hesitated. Richard Collins. Dr. Collins. Yes. You have exactly 1 minute to decide whether you'll help the woman who is about to save my friend's life, or continue wasting it. The doctor's face reddened. You can't threaten me inside a hospital. I haven't. Tae-Hyun looked at his watch. I merely informed you that time is running out. Sophie whispered to another nurse. I've never seen Collins speechless before. Neither had anyone else. Amara quickly examined the wound again. The bullet had entered beneath the ribs. Internal bleeding was almost certain. His blood pressure continued dropping. If we wait any longer, we'll lose him. Tae-Hyun leaned slightly closer. There is already a private suite upstairs. Amara looked confused. What? It has been prepared. You reserved a hospital suite in less than 30 minutes? I purchased the entire executive floor. Several doctors froze. One orderly accidentally dropped a box of supplies. Dr. Collins' mouth slowly opened. You bought the entire floor. No one spoke. No one even breathed. Amara looked at Tae-Hyun with disbelief. This isn't normal. My world rarely is. She knew that tone. Calm. Controlled. Yet hiding enormous urgency. She took another look at the unconscious guard. His heartbeat became increasingly unstable. Professional instinct overpowered every other thought. She turned toward Sophie. Call blood bank. She looked at another nurse. Prepare emergency surgical supplies. Then she faced Dr. Collins. I need authorization. Collins hesitated. This patient is connected to something dangerous. He is still a patient. You don't know who these people are. Amara looked directly into his eyes. No. She glanced back at the dying man. But I know exactly who I am. Without another word, she grabbed the stretcher herself and began pushing it toward the elevators. For 3 long seconds no one moved. Then Tae-Hyun silently walked beside her. Behind them, 20 bodyguards followed in perfect formation. The entire emergency department watched the unbelievable procession disappear into the executive elevator. Just before the doors closed, Sophie found her voice. Amara. Amara looked back. Her best friend forced a nervous smile. Come back safely. The elevator doors slowly closed. Inside the silent elevator, only 4 people remained. Amara. the unconscious security chief, the mysterious billionaire, and the terrifying feeling that the life she had known until this morning had just disappeared forever. If you're already hooked by this unbelievable encounter, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments. If you were Amara, would you have followed the mysterious billionaire upstairs, or walked away? The biggest twists are only beginning. The executive elevator opened onto a floor unlike any other in the hospital. The usual noise of nurses, visitors, and rolling carts was gone. Instead, two silent bodyguards stood outside every hallway intersection, their sharp eyes scanning every movement. Amara pushed the stretcher into the largest private suite. The luxurious room had already been transformed into a temporary treatment area. The expensive paintings had been removed. Furniture had been pushed against the walls. Portable medical monitors, oxygen tanks, 4 pumps, and surgical equipment were neatly arranged as though an operating room had been built in less than 30 minutes. She looked at Tae-Hyun. "You planned all this before you arrived." "I planned everything." She nodded. "I can see that." The unconscious man's breathing suddenly became shallow. The heart monitor sounded another warning. Amara immediately snapped into professional mode. "Blood pressure." One of the bodyguards answered without hesitation. 86/48. "Pulse. 138. She frowned. "He's crashing." Without waiting for permission, she cut away the remaining blood-soaked fabric around the wound. The bullet had entered just below the left rib cage. There was no exit wound. Internal bleeding was almost certain. She looked directly at Tae-Hyun. "I need to know exactly how long ago he was shot." 29 minutes. "Any allergies?" "No." "Medical history?" "He has never been seriously ill." She immediately inserted another 4-line. "Hang another unit of blood." A bodyguard obeyed before she even finished speaking. The speed impressed her. Every instruction was carried out instantly. Nobody questioned her. Nobody argued. For the first time that day, she felt completely respected. She pressed fresh gauze against the wound. The bleeding slowed only slightly. "He needs surgery now." Almost as if summoned by her words, the suite door opened. An older Korean man carrying 2 medical bags entered. His silver hair contrasted with his steady hands. Tae-Hyun inclined his head respectfully. "Dr. Choi." The physician walked directly to the bedside. He didn't waste time introducing himself. Instead he examined Amara's work. "You started fluids." "Yes." "You stabilized his airway." "Yes." "You identified internal bleeding." "I believe the spleen." Dr. Choi looked up and smiled faintly. "Excellent assessment." He turned toward Tae-Hyun. "She has already bought us valuable time." For the first time since entering the hospital, relief flickered across Tae-Hyun's face. Only for a second. Then it disappeared. Dr. Choi opened one of his bags. Inside lay specialized surgical instruments packed with military precision. Amara blinked. "You travel with all this?" The doctor chuckled softly. "I've worked for Mr. Kang a very long time." "You expected something like this?" "I hoped I never would." Within minutes the luxurious suite became a fully functioning operating room. Amara scrubbed her hands. Dr. Choi did the same. Tae-Hyun quietly stood near the window, watching every movement. His expression remained unreadable, but his tightly clenched fists betrayed him. The surgery began. Amara handed instruments before the doctor asked. She monitored blood pressure, adjusted oxygen, controlled bleeding, anticipated every instruction. Dr. Choi glanced at her several times. "You've assisted in trauma surgery before." "For 3 years. I can tell." The operation continued. Sweat gathered on everyone's forehead. Finally Dr. Choi located the bullet. There. Amara carefully adjusted the surgical light. The damaged tissue became visible. The spleen is torn. I know. Together they worked with remarkable coordination. Nearly 40 minutes later the bullet dropped into a stainless steel tray with a sharp metallic click. Everyone in the room released the breath they had been holding. The bleeding slowed. Blood pressure gradually climbed. Dr. Choi smiled. We've got him. Amara closed her eyes for one brief second, then immediately returned to monitoring the patient. There was still work to do. Across the room, Tae-Hyun quietly walked over. He looked at the unconscious man, then at Amara. Thank you. She looked surprised. You don't need to thank me. I do. You trusted me. I trust very few people. His voice became quieter. You've never given me a reason not to. Their eyes remained locked. Neither noticed Dr. Choi quietly smiling to himself. The silence broke when one of the bodyguards hurried inside. He leaned close to Tae-Hyun and whispered something. Everything changed. The warmth disappeared from Tae-Hyun's face. His eyes became ice. What happened? Amara asked. He didn't answer immediately. Instead he dismissed the bodyguard. The man left. Only then did Tae-Hyun speak. The convoy was followed. Amara's heartbeat quickened. You mean? They knew exactly where Min-suk was coming. Dr. Choi stopped organizing his instruments. Another ambush? Tae-Hyun nodded once. There is someone inside my organization. Silence filled the room. A traitor. Amara looked toward the unconscious patient. So this wasn't random. No. It was planned. Very carefully. His jaw tightened. My security routes change every morning. Then only trusted people could know them. Exactly. Amara understood immediately. The greatest danger wasn't outside. It was inside. Someone close to Tae-Hyun wanted him destroyed. She carefully adjusted Min-suk's blanket. I've seen this before. Tae-Hyun looked at her. What do you mean? Not the violence. She sighed. The betrayal. My father owned a small medical clinic. He listened quietly. He trusted everyone. One employee stole patient records, emptied the clinic accounts, and disappeared. She looked down. My father never recovered from that. Tae-Hyun watched her differently now. You never told me. You never asked. No. He nodded slowly. I didn't. Another long silence followed. Finally she asked the question that had been bothering her since he arrived. Tae-Hyun. Why keep our engagement secret? He looked out the window overlooking Seoul. For your safety. She frowned. I never asked you to hide me. I know. So why? His answer came quietly. Because everyone who stands beside me becomes a target. She looked at Min-suk. Like him. Yes. And today. His voice almost broke. They came dangerously close to making you one too. For the first time since they met, Amara saw guilt in his eyes. Real guilt. He wasn't afraid for himself. He was terrified because his dangerous world had reached hers. She walked toward him. You didn't shoot him. No. You didn't betray him. No. So stop blaming yourself for another man's choices. He stared at her. No one had spoken to him like that in years. Not his advisors. Not his bodyguards. Not even Dr. Choi. Only Amara. A faint smile almost appeared. Almost. Before either of them could speak again, another bodyguard burst into the room. This time he didn't whisper. Boss. What is it? We found the abandoned vehicle. And there was another phone inside. Tae-Hyun's expression darkened. The tracker. Yes. They planted it before today's attack. Dr. Choi froze. That means... The bodyguard nodded grimly. They already know Mr. Min-suk survived. A heavy silence filled the suite. Amara felt cold. If they know he's alive, they'll finish the job, Tae-Hyun completed. At that exact moment, every phone inside the room vibrated. One after another. The bodyguards checked their screens. None of them spoke. Tae-Hyun slowly looked at his own phone. A single anonymous message appeared. You saved the wrong man. A second message arrived almost immediately. We know which nurse helped you. Amara's breathing stopped. Then came the third message. We're already inside the hospital. The room fell completely silent. One bodyguard instinctively reached for his weapon. Dr. Choi closed his medical bag. Min-suk remained unconscious. Tae-Hyun slowly slipped his phone back into his pocket. His voice became frighteningly calm. No one leaves this room alone. He looked directly at Amara. They're no longer hunting my organization. His eyes hardened with quiet fury. They're hunting you. If you're enjoying the story so far, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment below. The danger is only getting closer, and the biggest betrayal has yet to be revealed. Amara's fingers tightened around the hospital bed rail, but her voice remained steady. Then we stop waiting for them. Every pair of eyes turned toward her. Tae-Hyun studied her expression. You have a plan? I know this hospital better than they ever will. She walked to the wall and pulled down an emergency evacuation map. Her finger traced a series of corridors. The surgical wing on the east side was closed 18 months ago for renovations. Dr. Choi nodded. I remember. They never finished the project. Exactly, Amara replied. Most staff don't even have access anymore. There are service corridors, supply elevators, and maintenance tunnels connecting that wing to the loading dock. One of the bodyguards frowned. You've used them before? When transporting critical patients during renovations. Tae-Hyun looked at his men. We move now. Within 2 minutes, Min-suk was transferred onto a mobile bed. The bodyguards surrounded him in a protective formation. Amara led the way. The executive floor, bustling only an hour earlier, had become eerily quiet. They slipped into a restricted corridor. The lights flickered overhead. As they reached a service elevator, Tae-Hyun's phone buzzed again. He glanced at the screen. His face hardened. They've shut down the main exits. Amara pressed the elevator button. Then it's a good thing we're not using them. The elevator descended. When the doors opened, dust covered the unfinished hallway. Plastic sheets hung from the ceiling. Construction equipment stood abandoned. The old surgical wing looked like a forgotten world. They had barely traveled 30 meters when footsteps echoed from another corridor. One of Tae-Hyun's men raised his hand. Movement. Everyone stopped. 3 men wearing contractor uniforms appeared around the corner pushing a toolbox. At first glance, they looked ordinary. Then Amara noticed one detail. Their boots. Brand new tactical boots beneath dusty work overalls. She whispered, They're not contractors. The toolbox dropped. Automatic rifles came up. Down. Tae-Hyun shouted. Gunfire exploded through the corridor. Concrete shattered. Glass burst. Amara instinctively threw herself behind an overturned supply cabinet as Tae-Hyun and his men returned fire with frightening precision. The narrow hallway amplified every shot. One attacker fell. The other 2 retreated behind a wall. Move. Tae-Hyun ordered. The group rushed deeper into the abandoned wing. Dr. Choi pushed Min-suk's bed while Amara ran beside him, keeping one hand on the patient's pulse. It's getting weaker, she said. We need somewhere secure. They reached an abandoned operating theater. The heavy steel doors still worked. The bodyguards barricaded the entrance with old equipment. For a brief moment, silence returned. Then the cardiac monitor screamed. Min-suk's heartbeat became wildly irregular. Dr. Choi checked the screen. No. What? He's arresting. Amara's heart skipped. She immediately climbed onto the side of the bed. Start compressions. Dr. Choi began CPR. Amara searched the room desperately. No crash cart. No defibrillator, one bodyguard said. There has to be emergency equipment. She ran into a storage room. Boxes covered in dust lined the shelves. She pulled one open. Bandages. Another. Old surgical drapes. Then she spotted a yellow emergency cabinet tucked behind construction materials. She yanked it open. Inside sat a portable automated external defibrillator with a nearly expired inspection tag. It still has power. She rushed back. Dr. Choi looked up. Good. Amara attached the pads. Everyone clear. The shock jolted through Min-suk's body. The monitor remained chaotic. Resume compressions. 30 endless seconds passed. She charged the AED again. Clear. The second shock fired. For one terrifying heartbeat. Nothing. Then, beep. Another beep. A steady rhythm returned. Everyone in the room exhaled. Dr. Choi smiled with relief. You saved him. Amara closed her eyes for half a second before checking the monitor again. He isn't safe yet. A loud crash echoed outside. The barricaded door shook violently. They've found us, a bodyguard shouted. The attackers slammed against the steel door again. The hinges groaned. Tae-Hyun calmly inserted a fresh magazine into his handgun. Prepare yourselves. The door burst inward. 2 armed men stormed through. Before either could fire accurately, one of Tae-Hyun's guards tackled the first attacker. The second aimed directly at Amara. Time seemed to stop. Without thinking, she grabbed a stainless steel instrument tray from a nearby table and hurled it with all her strength. The heavy tray struck the gunman's wrist. His weapon flew across the floor. Tae-Hyun moved like lightning. 2 controlled shots. The attacker collapsed. Silence returned almost instantly. Amara stood frozen, breathing hard. She had never thrown anything at another human being before. Tae-Hyun walked toward her. Are you hurt? She slowly shook her head. I'm fine. He gently examined her forehead where a small piece of shattered concrete had left a cut. A thin line of blood trickled downward. He removed a clean handkerchief from his pocket and carefully pressed it against the wound. You protected everyone. I reacted. You chose courage. Before she could answer, another bodyguard hurried inside. His breathing was uneven. Boss. What? We caught one alive. The wounded attacker was dragged into the room. His shoulder bled heavily. Tae-Hyun crouched in front of him. Who sent you? The man laughed weakly. You already know. I want the name. The attacker smiled through blood. Daniel Cho. Every bodyguard froze. Even Dr. Choi looked shocked. No. One guard whispered. Daniel Cho wasn't just another member. He had served Tae-Hyun for 11 years. He attended family dinners. He managed security meetings. He knew every safe house. Every route, every weakness. Tae-Hyun slowly stood. There was no anger in his face. Only disappointment. I treated him like a brother. The attacker laughed again. He said loyalty doesn't pay. Before anyone could ask another question, the attacker suddenly bit down on something hidden inside his mouth. Dr. Choi lunged forward. Stop. Too late. Foam appeared around the man's lips. Within seconds, he collapsed. Cyanide, Dr. Choi said grimly after checking for a pulse. He's gone. No one spoke. The traitor had erased the final witness. Tae-Hyun stared silently at the body. Amara stepped beside him. You trusted him. More than almost anyone. She gently touched his arm. Betrayal says everything about the person who commits it. He looked at her. not the person who believed in them. Those simple words struck him harder than any weapon. Outside, police sirens echoed in the distance. The surviving attackers had fled. Hospital security was finally closing in. Tae-Hyun looked toward the window as dawn's first light spread across the city. It's over. Amara smiled faintly. For today. He nodded. For today. Later that morning, the hospital was surrounded by investigators. Patients had been safely evacuated. Thanks to Amara's quick thinking, no innocent lives had been lost. Dr. Richard Collins stood in the damaged emergency department, watching the news crews gather outside. When Amara walked past in fresh scrubs, he lowered his head. I judged you unfairly. She stopped. I know. You saved patients, and my staff. I simply did my job. No, he admitted quietly. You did far more than that. He extended his hand. I'm sorry. After a brief pause, Amara shook it. I accept your apology. She turned and walked toward the hospital entrance. Outside, the familiar convoy waited. This time there were no flashing lights. No panic. Only silence. Tae-Hyun stood beside a black luxury sedan instead of hiding inside it. As Amara approached, he opened the rear door himself. You don't have to come. She smiled softly. I know. I won't ask you to leave behind the woman you are. He held out his hand. I only ask you to walk beside me. She looked back one last time at the hospital where she had built her career, discovered her strength, and changed her life forever. Then she looked at the man who had trusted her with what mattered most. She placed her hand in his. His fingers closed gently around hers. The car door shut. As the convoy disappeared into the awakening city, Amara realized she wasn't leaving behind the woman she had been. She was carrying her into a future neither of them had imagined. If this story kept you hooked until the very end, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. If you were in Amara's position, would you have stepped into Tae-Hyun's dangerous world, or chosen to walk away? Until the next story, thank you for watching.